Hey, what's going on, guys? Richie Fix here, back with another video, and here we go. Our third offering from probably one of the most popular companies of the year so far in Storm Arena. This time not from Street Fighter Alpha 3, but BAKI Hanma, Son of Ogre. Who do we got? We got Yujiro Hanma, the big baddie of the show, or at least that's what it seems like when I watched it. Yeah, I've been super excited for this figure. I definitely tried to get my hands on the collectibles version at one point of my collecting phase. It just never came to fruition for whatever reason. He was sold out. He was expensive in the aftermarket. I actually put a pre-order down for like the battle damage version, which just barely started shipping out, but by then I was like, well, Storm Arena's doing it. I'll just jump in on that, and that's what we're doing today. And from what I hear, Mr. Lee did confirm that I know a lot of people are concerned. Where's Baki? Where's Baki? Isn't Baki supposed to be here first? Well, it looks like plans have changed. We get this guy first, and Baki is not far behind. I guess by like a couple weeks. So we should be seeing Baki sooner than later. It does sound like he'll still hit the 2025 calendar release time, so we look out for him. But in the meantime, we got his Faja, the big Yujiro Hanma. Taking a look at the box, something we've already seen before. We got the Storm Arena branding in the middle. We get a picture of the figure on the right. A full picture this time. I like that they're doing that. We're not cutting off the hair or anything like that in some of the collectibles lines that they do. You get the logoing there. On the side, you are going to get a picture of the figure along with the logo and the name. On the back, we get a collage of all the promotional pictures without their background, done in a very nice, fashionly, manner. I like it. And then obviously we got the main company down in the bottom there. You do get Storm Collectibles along with some more logoing. And that's all she wrote. Very clean, very crisp. I like the way these boxes come. But as of recently, I've seen a few people handle this figure, and we might have some scaling questions. So we're going to take a look at that. This is going to be a shorter review. He doesn't come with a whole lot other than some hands and an extra head sculpt and a stand. So shouldn't take long at all, but nonetheless, super excited. Let's go. And before we do that, I would just like to take this small second. If you guys could show some extra support on this video. This figure costs me a whopper. It costs as much as a normal Storm Collectibles, just so I can be not even the first, but like within the top 10 of one of the first reviews on YouTube. So if you can leave this video any type of engagement, a thumbs up, a thumbs down, an emoji, whatever you want, just any type of engagement. Hell, if you got some hype points, go ahead and hype the hell out of this video for me, as this thing cost me a whopping $90 out the door to get this thing here. Yeah. Things I do to try to be a successful content creator. But hey, I do it for you guys. I know you guys appreciate it. That's all I'm going to say. Let's go. All right, guys, taking a look at Yujiro Hanma outside of the packaging and first impressions, sculpting is always A+ with these things. I mean, it really is. But I guess the main thing I'm having a hard time still dealing with in these figures is that they're so teeny compared to their counterpart in Storm Collectibles, right? Like, you look at his head, and in the video, it probably seems like a normal size head, but if you look at it next to my finger, I mean, his face just seems small. Like, I haven't put him side by side. Maybe it won't look so weird once I, do some comparison side by sides and things like that. But if you look, like, it's barely as big as my fingernail on my thumb. So it's just weird to see figures you expect and have such an accustomed to being so much larger in a smaller scale. So I'm still getting used to the arena size of things. But even for Yujiro Hanma, I think we have decided and have seen some side-by-sides that other people have done that he is a little bit small for what he is. So this character is listed at 6'3", and then when we do the side-by-sides, it looks like he is more projected in this figure size as like a 6-footer, like just a flat 6 foot, which is fine, guys. It's not a deal breaker or anything like that. I had somebody in the comments say, well, if you wanted him bigger, then you should get the collectibles version. Well, I don't need him to be 8'2" compared to my Ryu, right? I don't need him that much bigger, but instead of right here, he probably should be like up to here. Do you see the top of my finger? Probably just like a little bit. So it's not crazy, but I definitely don't want to see these figures start to get out of scale. As of right now, I'm not that concerned about it. He still is going to be taller than the characters he's supposed to be taller than. Now, is he as tall as he's supposed to be compared to them? Probably not, but is he still taller than them? That's what I really am concerned about, and yes, he is. Taking a look at the articulation, we'll start with that, and let's see what we got. So the head lifting up definitely has the tendency to, like, want to come up. That's about as far as I'm getting right there. Without the head, like, starting to actually come off the peg, which it does rather easily. Not like it's loose where I feel like it's going to fall off, but if you put enough pressure, because the plastic is so soft and delicate, that's really about all he's getting to look up. Now, looking down, he is getting a little bit more down, so that's nice. Looks good there. And then as far as a head tilt, we're getting great head tilt. Some very nice head tilt. And again, the sculpts on these things are just so crazy. For the price I paid, it seems about right. But if you actually wait the big bad toy stores out and like the more realistic pricing, like the $30, $40 these should be, then yeah, 100% worth it. So taking a look at the articulation on the arms, he's going to get a nice T-pose. On the back, is there any type of not really a butterfly, I guess you could say. But he is going to get about that far back. So, very, very nice there. And then he does get a lot more range moving forward, which is nice. So, he can definitely touch his fists. We like that. And then as far as the range on the lean forward, we're going to get that far forward. And he does get this additional ab crunch thing. I know a lot of people were not a fan of this. This figure did end up keeping his, but he definitely gets a lot more range with it. And this head, any type of pressure up, he's definitely losing this head. But not, like I said, something where it's like a QC issue. It's just super soft plastic. So, taking a look back, he's going to get that. Excuse me. Dude, put your arm down. Okay, now back. He's going to get that far back. And then on a side to side, he's going to lean that much more to the left. Much more to the right. So it looks good there. And then as far as the leg, this is where it gets really crazy. So take a look at how high that is just right off the jump. And then as far as the splits, a full Claude Van Damme, if you will. So looking good there. And then this does get a drop down. So we will see how much more height he gets with the drop down hips. So we will get to see if that makes him probably closer to the spot he needs to be as far as an actual height as a character. And then he is going to, man, very nice joints on the knees. We get double jointed knees, but because of the bagginess of the pants, can't go quite all the way up. But I do like, man, just these figures are next level. Foot down, about that far. Foot up, about that far. And then, if you guys are hearing a bunch of clanking in the background, I apologize. They're doing some construction upstairs. I apologize for that. And we get a freaking ankle rock, so that's very nice. And then the last thing here is going to be his toe pivot, which a nice firmness, I guess you say. I don't want to make it too loose. I don't want to keep rocking it back and forth to make it loose, but it's got a nice pressure, I guess, that you have to put on it to get that toe hinge, which feels really secure. So, we've seen the figure. Everything looks good. Now it's time to look at his accessories. Taking a look at the first and probably the main accessory is going to be the additional head sculpt. I would say that's probably the only thing that's a con with this figure is the lack of accessories. I feel like for what we're paying, because I think they are charging a little bit more on this for Big Bad Toy Store. I think this one's listed at $34.99 compared to Baki, where he's at like $26 or $27.99. You're not getting the extra figure size that we thought we were going to get. Not to mention, the only additional things other than outside of this head is going to be just some grappling hand effects. So you're going to get like one of those hands. Like, that's not that crazy. They don't really need their own segment, but they are nicely sculpted. But not only that, he is going to get more like a sprawled hand too. But that's it. That's really all that comes with the figure. And for $34.99, with there not being that big of a size difference compared to Baki that we know of so far, it's like, why is there an additional $10 for this? But regardless, I'd pay $60 probably for these. 70 probably be where I top out, but I paid 90, so if I was a normal collector, these are so nice that they're worth the price in my opinion. So $35.99, I'm still not complaining at all. One thing I am going to give an advisory on though, these are not that soft. If you drop this the wrong way, these definitely I feel like could and will break off. So please be careful in putting him in a stance you feel a confidence in, I guess would be the right word, because if he falls over and hits at the wrong angle, you probably will snap. Like, there's a little bit of softness to it, but not much. Like, if I got lower down at the base, those will probably snap off. So just to forewarn that you want to feel good about the pose you're putting him in if you're using this head sculpt. One other accessory that I forgot to mention, he does just come with the classic Storm Arena stand. So if you've seen the other stands for the other Street Fighter characters, you've seen this one. Nothing new here. Doing our first comparison, we're going to start with one of the figures from the Storm Arena line, the Street Fighter Alpha 3 Ryu. As you can see, he's clearly taller than Ryu. But is it a 6'3" next to a 5'9"? It doesn't really look like it. It looks like he's more like a 5'11", 6-footer standing next to a 5'9". So if you do a face-to-face off, right, he should be a lot taller. But what we're going to do is we are going to do I'm going to do a drop down of the hips and see if that makes that much big of a difference to put him at the size he actually probably should be. Guys, that is what he's going to look like with the hips dropped down, which is actually probably a lot closer to where he needs to be as far as a height. So I guess we can still count that as far as being in scale. You'd like to see that be without the drop down hips because it looks fine there, but as far as here, you are going to notice the gapping between the legs and the waistline. But as you can see, he is a lot closer. I don't know if he's still exactly where he needs to be as far as a 6'3" standing next to a 5'9"er, but this, with the drop-down hips, definitely looks closer where he needs to be. And then here he is standing next to the other figure from the Storm Arena offerings. It is going to be Ken, and as you can see, this is him without the drop-down hips. So let's go ahead and drop those down to where it gives him his ultra height. And then that is going to be where he stands with it. Like, again, as said, it's probably not exactly where he still needs to be scaling-wise for a 6'3", standing next to a 5'9", but it's a lot closer. And to me, with the drop-down hips, even though it's not preferred, it still works, and I still have no problem with it. I absolutely still love this figure. Then you have to notice one other thing here while I can see. You can notice the faces. Look how much smaller Yujiro's face actually is compared to Ken's. Like, it's just a smaller face. It's weird. And when you get it in hand, you'll know what I'm talking about. Like, I'm just having a hard time adjusting having such good Storm Collectibles quality in these small forms. But, man, it's just, look at the shadowing, too. Just look at that. Oh, these are so good. Here he is standing next to the Jada Toys Guile, and this is where things get a little bit interesting, and maybe the crossover won't quite be there, because Yujiro Hanma, again, listed as a 6'3" guy, and Guile is actually listed at a flat 6 foot. So as you can see, this guy is more like a 5'11" compared to the 6'3" where he needs to be. Now, this is without the drop-down hips. If I put the drop-down hips on him, it does make him a little bit taller. But again, that only puts him about an inch, maybe, taller than Guile, maybe. But again, like I said, they might have just underscaled this guy just a bit. And I know people are going to be like, oh, you know, you're harping on it too much. I just want to make sure that this doesn't become a thing moving forward. It's fine. A one-off is fine. They can even fix this on future figures. But it's just right, something like this that you got to notice where this doesn't look like a 3-inch height difference compared to Guile being listed at 6 foot and Yujiro supposedly being a 6'3". And then we always have to do one of my favorites from the Jada Toy line, and as far as the scaling too, a 7'4" next to a 6'3". And yeah, he can't even fit on scale half the time, but there he is. We got Sagat next to Yujiro, and you can see this is with the drop down hips. Now if I put them down, again, he becomes a lot smaller, too. So, it's like, I don't know what your guys' thoughts on that. But that, to me, if Sagat is only supposed to be a foot taller, that looks a lot like 7'4" compared to a 6'3". Okay, a foot and an inch if we're really going to get specific. But as you can see, let me lift him up just a little bit more so he really gets that chest out and everything like that. His full height potential. That looks more than a foot to me, in my personal opinion. But I'm not trying to harp on it. I just want to make sure you guys are aware of the size difference. Like I said, it's not a deal breaker for me or anything like that. but we do have to point these things out early so they don't become future problems down the line. That is going to be my overview on the new Storm Arena Yujiro Hanma action figure, and another home run, man. These things are absolutely phenomenal for the price. Now, is it phenomenal for the price I got it at? No. But the price that you guys should be getting this at after taxes and everything is probably in the 30s to low 40s. I would say most of you is going to be low 40s if you are able to find these at your local comic book shop where you don't have to pay shipping or a con or something like that. You might be able to get these in the 30s, but I would say most people are going to probably pay a little over 40 out the door, but regardless, still worth it. The major pros are obviously the articulation is phenomenal. I like the sculpting. This one does have a little bit more of a QC as far as paint and stuff like that, like you'll see down there. There is a little bit of a paint there, and then I think there was somewhere up on the arm, like right over, let me get this all focused for you, but like right in here, there's a little bit of black going over the white. Small stuff, small stuff. Nothing that I'm going to be like, oh my god, that's outrageous or anything like that. But, something, I guess, oh god. But yeah, again, one thing you will want to watch out. Don't want to have too many falls like I just had with this hair, because if you hit it at the right spot, it probably will chip off. Again, the only real con that I can show you is that it's just not true scaling to what the character is supposed to be, which is a true 6'3". Even in the description, it says he's been depicted as larger sizes that can range up to 6'8", as high as 6'8", because of like the monstrosity that he becomes and how he's depicted in the actual show. So for some, it's no big deal, but I know that there are sticklers about scaling. I mean, if Spider-Man's too small or too tall or too muscly, or Wolverine's too muscly, too tall, people give a shit about that stuff. So to me, is it a big deal for me? No. Would you think that after all the stuff that I covered about it in this video? Probably don't believe me, but it really doesn't. Like I said, as long as he is actually taller than the characters he needs to be, then I'm okay with it. The drop-down hips definitely puts him closer to where he needs to be. Almost right there, but probably still just a little bit undersized. But for everything that he is and what it is and what Storm Arena is bringing to the table for the price, oh man, these things, I'm taking them all, baby. I'm taking them all one by one as they come out. But other than that, guys, if you've made it this far, I appreciate you guys so much for watching the whole thing. Let me know in the comments below. Is it a big deal to you? What are your thoughts on the figure? Are you in on the BAKI Hanma line? Are you out? I'm curious to know what you guys think. Other than that, I'll see you on the next one. Richie Figs. Later.